No, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, take it whoever you want. Who would you give?
I'm
a little
gonna
love
go
wedgie. You're gonna
somebody.
love wedgie.
I'm gonna Teddy Roosevelt. Let's give Teddy Roosevelt a little bit of a love wedgie.
I think Teddy would be down for that.
That is the weirdest thing we have ever said. That might start the podcast. I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Back Ups.
Hey, we're ready to go. This is week 3 of this. It's been really fun every week. We're, again, super appreciative of all the viewers out there checking us out and giving us good feedback. In fact, we had a viewer question. First viewer question. Which starting quarterback in the NFL would make a good cornerback? What were some of the results of that?
And we put it out there online, and like I said, thank you guys for filling in some answers. But we ended up with a lot of Lamars, a lot of Kylers, a couple Taysums, and one Tom Brady, and one Josh Allen.
We're throwing at Josh Allen.
Depending on, I'd pick on him maybe. But yeah, no, thanks for coming in.
No, it's pretty cool. So we're gonna get right to business. We got a lot of fun stuff today. It's gonna be a really cool episode. We're excited for it. It's part 1 of our Super Bowl preview. But before we get to that, we are talking openers. And I think you started first last time. I don't remember. I'll go ahead and knock this out here. So I saw a lot of cool things this week. I saw basketball practice, kids practicing in the gym. That's really cool to see.
Back in there,
playing. I went cross country skiing the other day. Sunset on this place called the Coastal Trail in Anchorage, Alaska. I mean, look out and you see this the ocean and it's orange sunset and you're cruising along.
At 4 o'clock
moose.
in the afternoon.
4 o'clock in the afternoon. Actually, that was pretty rough. Senior Bowl practice was really cool to see. That comes up tomorrow, Saturday.
Up on us. Snuck up on us.
And without a draft, with all these pro days and stuff going on,
combine and everything.
Combine.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, no combine.
Yeah.
There is a draft.
There's a draft.
There's a draft. Without a combine,
heard it here first.
we're excited to see the Senior Bowl and see what those guys.
Absolutely, super cool thing.
But by far the coolest thing I saw, I've been doing a tutoring session at West.
Yeah.
And you have been too on Wednesdays, and I'm doing Tuesday, Thursday night. The other night we were there, and one of our players was struggling with some chemistry, and I felt real medium. I even Googled how to chemistry. That's all I could do.
Chemistry.
Poor kid. Anyway, you know what happened? I shot his teacher an email. Thought I would get something like the next day. She got my phone number. She texted me, said, "Hey, can you get him hooked up with Zoom like right now?" And they spent the next hour and a half on a random weekday night.
Right then and there.
It was like 5 o'clock in the evening. She spent like her evening working with this kid learning stoichiometry.
And that's just one-on-one through Zoom.
Yeah. That's super. That
cool.
was the coolest thing. Kate Corwith, if you're out there, you win. There's no get back up for you. There should be, but you definitely win the opener award. That's really cool.
For me, I'm keeping it with football. I know we kind of bounce back and forth, but for me, being a Seahawks fan, best thing I saw this week was the hiring of the new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron. We'll edit that out. Anyway, Shane Waldron, offensive pass game coordinator from the Los Angeles Rams. Before I did not know much about him. But as a Seahawks fan, as soon as I saw that pop up on my phone, I was excited just from seeing what the Rams have done offensively with the pass game and being able to still run the ball well. So just looking at their offense from how well it's worked in Los Angeles, I know Russell's going to be excited. And with that, like I said, they get a chance to move the pocket, do a lot of play action, hit some deep crossers, hit that deep ball that they've been doing well on. And the best part about it, I think it's going to keep Coach Carroll happy. They're going to be able to run the football and get back to doing what they do well, and hopefully those guys can stay healthy. But on top of all that, my favorite thing about Coach, he's a D3 guy. He's coached at all levels, but he's from Tufts University out on the East Coast, a Division III guy. So shout out all my D3 guys, D3 coaches climbing their way up, man. It's awesome. So
I think it's really cool to see. The Shanahan tree is definitely it's doing things. Big things were across the NFL, and I think that's going to fit really well with the Seahawks mentality.
I'm open, so
I think that'll be really
Rams
good.
Rams lost a handful of coaches, and so we'll see, man. Obviously, McVay, like you said, the Shanahan, those guys are doing something right.
Yeah.
One of the big notes that these guys talked about was just the way you communicate and the way you teach kids, and so I think that, I don't know if that's all a big emphasis on out of that tree or what, but whatever it is, it seems to be working and doing the right thing.
I think we're going to have to do a teaching episode. Just an episode just straight talking pedagogy.
How to chemistry.
So we got the Get Back Up. We've had a handful of dudes represented in the Get Back Up. You're going to go first today, and your homie is...
Matthew Stafford. Just being a quarterback guy, I've always been a fan of Matthew Stafford. Unfortunately, 12 years in the NFL here, playing with the Detroit Lions, has not been able to really, not saying it's all been his fault or anything, but he hasn't been able to necessarily get to the playoffs and get a win and get all that underneath his belt. So I'm excited because we're not going to have another Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson situation on our hands. We're going to at least get a chance to see Matthew Stafford with another football team, and I'm super excited to see where he ends up. I think this guy is more than deserving of an opportunity to be somewhere where he has a chance to really win. One of my favorite clips of all time is watching him get drilled in that play, and we end up breaking his arm or his shoulder or something, and then laying on the ground, and they take a timeout, and he's like, "Oh, I can get back in now, right?" And he gets up and throws the touchdown, and it's just like one of the grittiest, coolest, quarterback moments that I've seen. Certainly at the NFL level for sure. So super excited for him, and we'll see. I think out of the 49ers, Broncos, Colts, Patriots, all of a sudden kind of coming in.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Colts. I just think he'd be able to plug and play right away there and be good to go.
I think that'd actually be a really good fit for him. And I had seen Washington football team, but throw you off there. So my Get Back Up is my boy McCole Hardman. We're gonna have to work on the sound effects. He drops the punt, fumbles the punt. Bills go up. Good opportunity, by the way, to say I was wrong. And we'll talk a lot about this today.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. Yeah.
But Chiefs were pretty solid. The coolest thing is his recovery mentally, but I thought this was the greatest thing. The response factor that he had was fueled by his teammates. So totally. On the sideline,
Kelsey
it's been all over Instagram and Instagram. Kelsey comes up to him and is like, "Hey." Word for word quote, "A lot of plays left to be made. You got to trust them boys." So it's like, focus on the team. The message is focused on the team.
Yep.
Then Mahomes comes up. This is after Hardman's now got the coat over his head on the sideline, right? And he's like, "Hey, look at me. Hey, we good. Be you." So he gets he just says, "Hey, looks." He starts with connection,
Yep.
which is one of my favorite things about football is you got to be able to connect with your teammates. And then he goes, "You're gonna make a play this game." And so Mahomes puts visualization into Hardman's head. So you're going to do it. And you know what he did? Hats off to the coaching staff, Andy Reid and Bieniemy, to get Hardman back involved in the game on that reverse, that fake GT counter reverse, the end around, I guess it was.
End around.
That's a play that Hardman didn't have to do anything necessarily other than be you.
Just
be
you.
him.
Yeah, exactly.
So as much as I'm talking about the team, hats off to McCole Hardman for actually being the one to get back up after that disappointment.
Yeah.
And then the Chiefs went on to put the pedal down.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
Which brings us to the word of the day and part one of our Super Bowl preview, and we're talking line. So this episode's for the big men. I know he's brought up some quarterbacks, receivers, but this is for all you guys out there. The big boys up front, and we're gonna be talking NFL, we're talking college, we're talking high school coaching thoughts on offensive and defensive line play. So I'm really excited about that, which is gonna take us right into the league. Let's start talking shop. By the way, two of the best COVID protected coaches in the National Football League, the best kitted out outfits.
On the sideline, they definitely looked like they were calling the right plays and protecting themselves from COVID. So.
Yes, I really like that. And then we have a great matchup, I think, of a good O-line and D-line coming up. First of all, just overall thoughts on the games. What were some of your overall thoughts on the games? And we'll dive into the line play here.
First big takeaway from the Packers-Bucs game, big boys, I thought was really impressive how Tampa Bay's defensive line was able to create pressure and kind of create some chaos. Shaq Barrett coming off the end, really doing some things, not having to bring extra rushers, really to get some pressure on Rodgers. Only bringing 4. I think it really made a difference. And I mean, and man, and on that one thing alone is just kind of like what it really makes the Super Bowl really intriguing. Obviously, with the Chiefs losing and Fisher, and then the Buccaneers playing so well defensively, especially up front. It's, like I said, I always said last week, if anyone can slow the Chiefs down, they'll be able to win. And I think that due to some injuries by the Chiefs, that the Bucs might be in a place where they'll be able to get it done defensively. And then roles flipped there. The Bucs offensive line did another great job. They were able to run the ball well, keep Brady up for the most part. A couple of the stuff that got through was a lot more of it just communication errors, not necessarily had to do with effort or anything. So if those guys can stay sound and keep Brady up and maybe limit some of those turnovers, because I think if Brady throws 3 like that, I think Patrick Mahomes goes down and scores. So it's gonna be a battle. I'm excited.
After watching this game, and then I went back and watched Week 12 when they played.
Yeah.
There's two things that really stick out. Kansas City's O-line is really good at lateral displacement, running stretch, getting guys moving left to right. Tampa Bay is really good at vertical movement. And so they definitely are two very differently built offensive lines.
Yep.
KC's obviously playing the shuffle game, with Eric Fisher going down. Mike Remmers came in and replaced him, and he's dealing with a groin. He actually had limited practice this week. But what I really, really want to focus on is that lateral movement, because I agree about Tampa Bay's defensive line. I think they are more explosive than the KC defensive line as far as creating pressure on their own. You have Barrett, you have Sue. I think they're JPP. You have
JPP, has been playing lights out.
And so you have this ability. Now, here's the crazy thing, though. I think that the lateral running stretch, running speed option, the RPO game alone of KC sort of neutralizes some of that pressure. I was going to
say, yeah, exactly.
And Green Bay is a more vertical. They're not quite as stretching the field laterally as KC is. I think Kansas City stretching the field laterally presents some issues. Mahomes was able to get the ball out quickly on RPO, screen game, quick game, and even in dropbacks.
His release, things like getting the ball out quick. That's going to be the biggest thing. And like you said, what other wrinkles are they going to do with lateral stuff, motions, and just things to get the ball out of Mahomes' hands fast. But like you said, to counter that, White and Lamar David, who they got on defense at linebacker there, running side to side, sideline to sideline. Those guys can move for linebacker.
But no, I think it is important to talk about pressure, though. Yeah. Because now on the flip side, we have Tampa Bay. Like I said, they're really vertical in nature of their O-line play. But what I love about KC's defense is that while I really like Chris Jones, that's why he's up on the screen. Yeah. I really like how he plays. Naughty, number 91, he's solid as well. And so they did a really good job. They did limited pressures against Josh Allen. And a lot of it was because it was something like Josh Allen's averaging like 17 yards every time
under pressure.
Every time he runs.
Oh, runs. Got
yeah. And so they're just sitting. They're just holding the line of scrimmage, and they're saying we're going to drop 7, we're going to rush 4. Josh Allen beat us, and he couldn't.
Yeah.
And the opposite, I think, is going to be the case of Tom Brady. This is where KC's overall defense I love, because guys like Jones and Naughty are going to eat up space and give a chance for the linebackers, a chance for Tyrann Mathieu, who's just been awesome to watch.
He's been fun to watch.
Year.
He's been really fun to watch.
To give a lot of pressure, just like what Tampa did to Green Bay last week. There at the end of the first half of the Week 12 game, there's 3 plays in a row where Mahomes is pressured by D-line pressure and has to roll and throw it away. If you're going to rely on the drop back game and you don't get this D-line moving left to right consistently, I think it's that's the advantage of Tampa Bay. But if this piece together KC O-line can keep guys moving left to right and really taking the field as wide apart as possible, turn it into Canadian football, baby.
Yeah.
Then I think it's going to...
That's what they're good at. They got the speed for it. Like I said, it'll be fun.
It's going to be... I think it's going to be a fun game to watch.
And I was saying, when they got the speed for it, obviously they have it at the skill level, but they have it on the bigs up front too, which says something.
Yeah.
They're able to do that because of the fact those guys can move so well. I love watching the Chiefs run any screen plays or doing something where they got their big guys running out in space. It's just those guys practice it well.
Well, and you saw it in the end around. The hard
exactly.
Yeah.
It's something cooler than seeing a tackle running 20, 30 yards downfield, getting a pancake of safety or something. That's awesome.
That is good stuff. So we continue on with our theme of the line play. And so we just happen to have a college quarterback in the house, believe it or not, who had, and my biggest thing about what I want to know, and I kind of want to just get your thoughts on this at the college level, at your level. Let's talk what you know to the D3, D2 level. What's that relationship like between a quarterback and their line?
I mean, for me, it was always like the best. I don't know. I grew up an offensive lineman. I was a little chub ball myself, so like I know. I mean, at least I like to know the lifestyle of it all, and just being a goofball, being the big dude who's just gonna wear all the sweatpants and eat all the snacks and always be in the locker room hanging out. All my old linemen from Dubuque listening to this, you know who you are, and you know I'm right. No, and I say it all with love. One thing I definitely, from my college experience personally, the offensive line group was always like the most close-knit, most bonded, close together unit on the team. And they were nasty on and off the field. The big guys were just always having fun, but always getting after it. I know the offensive coordinators, O-line coaches that I played under while I was there and got to work with did a phenomenal job of creating that bond with those guys. Just because they got to work harder. They got to know a lot mentally, and being bigger dudes. I mean, they got to be able to work, in the weight room, on the field, and all that stuff carries over. But the offensive line, man, we always had so much fun. Like I said, some of these guys here in the picture, a guy in the red here is a former player from Dubuque who had transferred away. But just a blast. Those guys always took the back of the bus, so they get the most comfy seats and the most room, and they always got snacks. I was big on bringing snacks for all the guys, so it was almost like they'd all get on. I'd get on the bus, and they'd be like, "All right, Feck, where's the snacks at?" and stuff, and they invited me. They'd let me. I'd be the honorary lineman, and I get to go sit in the back, and eat snacks and take my shirt off and hang out with all the big boys in the back. So, so much love for all the big offensive linemen, guys I've got to play with, coach, anything like that. It's just, I love it.
Did they know you played O-line in high school?
A lot of them didn't believe it, but then once they got to, they'd see me eat something, or they'd see like my Division III quarterback body, and they'd be like, "Yeah, you probably did play a lineman back in the day and stuff." So, no, I mean, like I said, it comes back to me, being in their shoes and at one point in my life and dealing with it all. Yeah, but nothing for love, man. Those guys work, their work is harder. They're gonna be sweatier, smellier, and stinkier than everybody else because they're working the hardest. A lot of times those offensive line meetings are gonna be a half hour, an hour longer than everybody else's, man. There's a lot more stuff, a lot more looks. You got to look over fronts, all the adjustments. That center's got to be sitting there with a notebook full of notes, making sure he can call out everything. So there's a lot on those guys' plate.
So intellectually, I think that's something like, we think of the bigs, like move, let's go move something. But I think,
totally.
And a lot of people join us are coaches, and what's up. But
and then
and you've been there. But I think the intellectual side of the offensive line game to me is so fascinating.
Got to be the smartest, and I totally agree. And like you said, I mean, where I was playing at Dubuque, and a lot of times, the center made all the calls because they didn't want the quarterback having to think about what was going on up front. They wanted him paying attention to what's going on behind him, and obviously, so like as you get older in different levels, different coaches have different ideas what they want, but the offensive line, they have a lot on their plate. They have a lot of things they got to look at. Guys got to be able to communicate well, obviously, and if things move, you got a cadence, and all of a sudden you say down, and guys jump around and are doing, they got to be able to communicate and make things right and adjust on the fly, and they do a heck of a job.
So when I think of football, I think it's one of the most athletically diverse sports.
Oh yeah,
and I think like the obviously the bigs up front typify that.
I mean, it's impressive as hell what some of those full-grown big guys can do, and listening to younger linemen appreciate that, to a full extent, as should any position. But for the bigs who really understand, because as an offensive lineman, you got to understand how the entire play works. And that's what I think is really cool. You understand where the hole should hit and everything like that. Like receivers, a lot of time, they don't have any idea about when things are going on and whatnot. And I know when it gets into pass game, there's certainly linemen that don't know either. They're just, hey, coach said I need to block for 3 seconds. If I turn around and you're still there, it's no longer my fault. And you're not wrong. You
right.
did your job. So it's give and take off of how much effort guys give, how many offensive linemen want to be defensive linemen, and don't want to be blocking, and so vice versa. And so obviously I've spent my time, we're talking about offensive linemen too, but there's been shifts, guys switching from offensive line to defensive line. They think they just want to sack the quarterback, and they hate offensive linemen, and then all of a sudden the coach, hey, play offensive line for this practice, and and shut that other defensive lineman up. And then he does. Yeah. And that guy's like, oh, well, hey, this old line stuff ain't so bad, And the coach is like, good, because you're our new guard, And so, and then stuff like that has happened, but that's good. I think guys can, get an opportunity to appreciate using their body and how much what they can do to help the team. And I think that a lot with guys that should certainly be offensive linemen that oh, coach, I'm a D lineman, but you gotta get subbed out after every other play or something like that. So
you gotta love guys that are excited about it. Enthusiasm is really big, and I think because you can. In some ways, similar to like wrestling or MMA, the head and hand placement, the steps, the footwork, the perfection of it, you can really go all in on that. And a lineman of maybe a less stature can compete against a lineman who's much bigger when he's so technically and fundamentally sound based on what he's picked up on and learned.
No, absolutely. And like I said, and sometimes, it just comes down to effort and how hard you're willing to work. I know you were just talking about the Senior Bowl. We got a Division III lineman from the University of Whitewater down there, and I was coaching at Dubuque. We got a chance to play against Whitewater that first year, and so I got to watch film on him and watch him actually play in the game up close. And you can ask any of the D linemen that went against him, man, they got nothing but respect for that kid, and they would all say, hey, that's the best offensive lineman I had ever gone against in this conference division, and some guys even say in their life. And then you think, all right, well, good for that kid. And then you turn on the Senior Bowl film, and he's out there kicking everyone's butt. Yeah. So it just comes with effort, working hard, and knowing your stuff, man. Knowing offensive line play can get you on the field quicker than anything.
His clips were nasty coming off of social media and everything. It was
killer, man. Keep it up.
Pretty awesome to see. So moving, this kind of segues us into the high school game and the teaching game. And here's one of the reasons why I love line play is that, like, kind of going back on it, a lot of kids come into playing football and just, let's just be honest, they've been told by other kids they're fat, and they're told that. And when you're told something long enough, you start to believe it. And I think more than ever, we need high school O-linemen, societally. And you can take this, and you can take this very metaphorically or very literally. But I think that, one of the beautiful things about ball is that we offer pretty much every type of kid an opportunity to contribute in some way. Yeah. And a lot of these bigger guys, they're not going to be on the basketball team. They're not going to join some of the other sports, that are out there. And so for them to not only go out there, but if they develop their craft to really be a star in the school in some degree. I've seen the big men take over buildings before in positive ways.
No, absolutely.
In really positive ways. And these are guys that, like I said, growing up, they might have been timid or embarrassed, and football offers them just a great amount of confidence and the opportunity to compete at something at a super high level athletically.
At the high school level, like you said, you can find the variation of a kid who's 6'3", 310 pounds, and that might be your starting nose tackle. Yeah. Or it might be a guy who's 5'8", 150 pounds soaking wet, but he's just an ass kicker, and that's kind of the cool thing that varies from the high school offensive and defensive line in that sense. But you're right, for those guys that, ain't going to be running around a soccer field, aren't going to be running up and down a basketball court. You said football, there's a place for them, and there's certain opportunities where you can get them doing things off the field away from practice to start getting them in better shape and getting them ready to go physically and mentally, and and having them be a part of something. It's hard to feel not a part of something. I think if you're in a group specific that has hoping to have at least 10 guys, you'd like to have more than that, but at least 10. And then as a team, which you hopefully have 60, 70, 80 plus kids, to just start creating an environment around. So
the key to me, and a lot of this comes from a guy, Brian Hamilton. He's now the tight ends coach at Texas State. Sat through a lot of his O-line clinic film, and I think Hamilton has done the best job of any clinic speaker I've heard at breaking down the most important things about high school O-line play. Because let's face it, you're not going to get Tristan Wirfs. You're not going to get these guys. You might get one.
Yeah.
It is so vital to evaluate the talent, the ability, the grit, and the tools, and ask kids to do things to their strengths.
Yeah.
and not necessarily improve their weaknesses. It's you do want to improve your weaknesses, but you want to put kids in a position where their strengths can succeed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So again, what are we asking and how are we teaching it? I think the O-line play is also, to some degree, a microcosm of team culture.
But as a player and as a coach, I mean, nothing excited me more than the offense coming off the field and like the offensive line coach is just stoked, like halfway on the field, high-fiving everybody. And those linemen are all just smiling and stuff because like, their goal, their goal isn't necessarily like, they're taught in their room, hey, we're going to drive down the field running these plays, and we're going to throw the ball here and score a touchdown. They're taught, hey, we're going to have several run plays, we're going to have several pass plays. Yeah. You got to keep them up, you got to create a hole, and we got to score, and so they can turn around and whatever, and they look over, and that guy's in the end zone, man, their job's done. I don't know, I love it. It just gets me all riled up seeing that, they don't get all the glory and stuff, so, man, so to see them appreciate somebody else scoring, I think that's just, is the ultimate team sacrifice because those big guys got to do all the hard work, man, and they don't get all the love. But seeing them be the happiest guys to come off the field, I think if you're a coach out there and your offensive linemen are doing that, man, you're doing something right.
Man,
that's awesome.
I can't agree with you. And you mentioned something, and actually this is kind of a quarterback term we sometimes use in leadership, the difference between a thermostat and a thermometer is a thermometer just takes the temperature, but a thermostat sets the temperature. And obviously we want leaders like quarterbacks, but when I think of an O-line unit, that is the thermostat of the team. If the O-line is in the culture of the O-line is strong and they're like, hey, we're going to go take over this thing, boys. I know as a head coach, like good things are coming.
Absolutely.
And so I just think how we get those linemen into places to emphasize and stress their strengths. I mean, that's got to be. If I'm an O-line coach, I am racing to find the strengths of our guys and put them to use and tell them how to take advantage of that.
That's a good point. And I guess another thing that you might not have thought about, but I was certainly got a chance to from coaching college football and being in college football the last 7 years, and then coming back this past fall and getting a chance to coach high school football. One of the coolest things was you guys are able to use video on the sidelines and re-show the replays. And so, I mean, the offensive line group always, coming together. Our OCs and O-line coaches used to have the big whiteboard, and they drawing everything up and yelling and, hey, pay attention, and shoot, man, you guys had your tent, the nice big TV, and you just clicked rewind, and and that kid's able to sit there and just see exactly, what he did wrong and what that guy did. And coach can go, hey, all you gotta do is, adjust here, and boom. It's like way easier. I know our old line coaches, man, they're down there on their knees and getting up and having to use players to help them up and do stuff and drawing and going crazy. And so just hats off to coaches who are being able to make those, real adjustments. Like you said, it could be off the field for one play. It could be a turnover, and those guys are right back out there and stuff. So it's just that quick turnaround, being able to recognize, adjust, and then get those big guys, like you said, be in a position to be successful.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point about the video and the use of that. We had our Coach Zach Fleming, has been our O-line coach past couple of years, and he's done a really good job at getting the guys to the video village over there, getting them under the tent, and start watching things. And that's part of that O-line culture. I think I talked to guys around the state. There's a team here in the state that's won a ton of games in a row, like 70 million games in a row. It's Soldotna, and they run the team. And so these guys run trap. They can. That is what they do.
What they do, and they do it well.
They do it really dang well.
They have been doing it well.
Those guys are celebrated. I think it's up to us as coaches to celebrate O-linemen because they're doing an uncommon thing in our society. Those kids, they need stickers on their helmets. They need these guys are the ones that we should be celebrating because they're doing the things that we all really need to be doing in our society.
I totally agree. And just to kind of go off that, it reminded me of a story which I thought was kind of the coolest thing in college. My junior year, had a play. I think it was like 22 power right at the A gap. Offensive line did a great job, and there was just like one-on-one with the safety, and we had a wide receiver who had kind of guys had been getting on him for getting better at run blocking, and so coaches had been on him, didn't really do anything. Some of the teammates, some of the offensive linemen started getting on him a little bit. Hey man, you're a good receiver. Go get nasty, go block somebody. Well, on that play, man, you can see him run across the field, and he blows up that safety. And our running back rushes off for like a 60-yard play. I mean, you can see him in the film, just celebrating and all the linemen going nuts. And so it was obviously a very awesome moment, in the game. And then Sunday meetings the next day, we had our full offense was together. We split up. Quarterbacks, receivers are together. And then about halfway through, the linemen all came in, and they all gave Najee like an honorary lineman of the week award.
Awesome.
And so they all came in and just basically, hey man, you did something that you do not normally do. You're not normally asked to go do something like that, and you did it. You did something that we were supposed to do every play, and it sprung it for a touchdown, man. And we want to show you that we appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, hell yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Like I said, I get chills thinking about it now just how much, chemistry and love and everything that went into that. So yeah.
Offensive lineman,
offensive line, man. It's awesome.
They can change the world. I believe in the transformative power of this world in the sport of football. Football is a non-transferable skill. When you're done with football, you're done. But I think that the lessons that you can learn and are the things that we need more than ever. And it's, man, that you can't find them any better place than the O-line and O-line rooms across America. So if you're near an O-line coach, give him a big old smooch on the face right now, because he deserves it.
He deserves it.
Gosh darn it.
He deserves it.
Shout out
to all you coaches.
Shout out to all the big men coaches. All right. Well, we're moving into that time. It is 4 down territory.
4 down territory. So, 4 down territory. 4th down.
4 of them.
Not 4th down.
Not 4th down yet.
First down. First
down.
question.
First.
Your favorite offensive and defensive lineman of all time?
Kevin Mawai. I loved Kevin Mawai.
I know Jets, one great Jet guy.
Yeah. I was thinking through all my Jets. I think Kevin Mawai, Jumbo Elliott with the big catch. The Dolphins game was cool. Anyway, I think that would be my number one right there.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I kind of had a feeling it was going to be a Jet, and I knew there was at least one good Jet lineman I can think of on the top of my head. Moving on, second down. So who in the college football coaching world do you think seems like the most down-to-earth guy?
This is going to be kind of cheating, but Chris Peterson. Even though he's no longer there, I think he and some of the things,
go listen to Move the Sticks
podcast.
Daniel Jeremiah,
with him
Bucky Brooks.
Yeah, turn ours off right now and go listen to that.
And then tell them to listen to us.
Right, yeah, exactly. Dude, he has life figure. He knows why he's coaching. He knows how to influence young men to become like true leaders in this country, in this world. I admire him at a very high level. I admire the decisions he's made with his coaching career.
To step away from football just because he wants to go do more. I mean, it's just,
and
what you're doing.
And I think he's moving to the I think he calls it Coach for Life or something like that.
Yeah, he's doing staying in the realm, but yes.
But that can help as much as he can help those guys individually at Washington and totally. Boise State and all that. He has the power to change the coaching world, the playing world. So I think that when you get in a position that you can make a huge impact on the world, to go do it, and he's doing it. So and it's not in a braggadocious look at me way. So I'm gonna go with Chris Peterson on that.
No, that's a good point, and that kind of just to go off, just a great little talk about what you just said about Chris Peterson. I kind of thought the same thing that's what Urban was gonna do, obviously, and he kind of did do that for a while. He was still coaching and hanging out at Ohio State, and then obviously money talks, and he was able. Gruden did the same thing for a while. So I'm kind of curious with Chris Peterson if he's gonna stay out of it and continue to save the world and make it a better place, or if somebody will be able to convince him to get back in there and get back in the big seat. So, all right, good. Moving on. Third down. What product would you seriously stockpile if you found out they weren't selling it anymore?
What product would I seriously stockpile if they weren't selling it anymore? Oh, man. No, you know what? If I could stockpile one thing, you know what it'd be? It would be GoPros. I love the GoPro camera, and here's why. I know, right? This
How many other cameras we got in here?
I know. No, check it here.
I'm with you.
But the GoPro, there's a lot of really cool things about this. As a coach, if you're not using a GoPro to film your
have
practices,
done a bunch of cool stuff with that. So you're right.
You can do a lot of really cool things. Drones too. Drones are rad. But here's the deal about GoPros: they can get dunked in rain. You can drop them. You can kick them. Okay. And then if you get outside, if you're an outdoor athlete of some sort, snowboarding or skiing or whatever, you can get some really great footage on those. The GoPros are being made now so that you can get some really great family photos and it looks great. Like the quality is really high. These are indestructible. You can really I let my kids run around with it all the time.
That's saying something.
Yeah. So I would, what? If I knew they were never going to make another GoPro again, I'd get all over that because the indestructibility and the versatility, and it's really just everything I do in life. A GoPro actually makes a lot of sense. So
you would stockpile up on a thing that's indestructible. So you really only need one, but you're going to stockpile up on as many as we can get, just in case those kids happen to.
Just in case GoPro 2476 dies, I need GoPro 2477.
Great grandkids be running around with these little GoPros.
Yes, they will be.
Perfect. All right, the last one, fourth down.
That's tough.
That was a good one. Fourth down. If you could wedgie any historical figure, who would you pick?
Oh man! Well, first of all, you gotta like the person a little bit. You gotta like,
or have a lot of hate for him.
But even if you wouldn't wedgie someone that you have a lot of hate for. I think you just throw hands.
I think
not that you should throw hands.
You should wedgie him.
Wedgie him. Now I'm gonna go.
Yeah, take whoever you want. Who would you give?
I'm
a little
gonna
love
go
wedgie. You're gonna love wedgie.
I'm gonna Teddy Roosevelt. Let's give Teddy Roosevelt a little bit of a love wedgie.
I think Teddy would be down for that.
That is the weirdest thing we have ever said. That might start the podcast.
I think it might have been a lither bit better if you would have gone with somebody you hated, but you want to give him like a love wedgie.
I think you would. I think it would be fine. It'd be good natured. There'd be a fight, like a friendly fight thereafter. This is something like it'd be good. I think giving Teddy Roosevelt a little love wedgie would be solid.
I don't think
we should call it a love wedgie.
Maybe just
I think we should drop that term altogether.
Wedgie him not out of hate.
Oh yeah,
wedgie. I think that's pretty.
There you go.
Educational word. It's appropriate.
Yeah,
it is. It's appropriate word. So. Teddy wedgied on fourth. Here we go.
Teddy
wedgied on fourth.
Was that fourth down?
That was fourth down.
Oh, I don't think we converted that.
Nope,
I think we got stopped.
4 and out on that one.
We got stopped. Four and out. All right, here we go. Oh dear. Whew. First down. One restaurant, one dish. What you got?
Houlihan's chicken katsu. Next question.
Dude, that was legit. That was.
I had the other day for lunch, and I was just thinking about it. I'm like, man, I love me some chicken katsu. It just. It's good Hawaiian food, man. It just can't be beat.
We're not sponsored yet.
We
have no advertisements.
Houlihan's.
Just saying Houlihan's.
We could have some Moco Moco. We could have some katsu on the table. Some we could have a. Hey man, hey.
Ooh.
All right.
We'll be calling.
Okay.
We'll be calling. Second down. Does Aaron Rodgers play in Green Bay next year?
Oh. Man, what's funny is I had posted this on my Instagram because I know I have a bunch of Packer fans, buddies that, and I had called some of them too just to make sure they were doing all right, hanging in there. Because you're right. I know I texted you as soon as they didn't get that third down and they trotted the field goal team on. I texted you and I said, hot take, that might be Aaron Rodgers' last time on the field as a Packer. And it was kind of like I said, at that moment in time right there, it was just like hot take. And then quickly after the game, it kind of became a real thing. And it's kind of only become more and more of a thing. Even today, I think even before we started recording, I saw more updates that it's starting to look like it's not looking good there in Green Bay. I think they figure it out. I think they watch what happened in Philadelphia. I think they learn from it. I think they see what's currently happening in Houston, and they're going to learn from it. I think you keep Aaron Rodgers. He stays in Green Bay, and hopefully they can get over the hump. Long answer short, yes, Aaron Rodgers will be back.
So we're big fans of Robert Saleh on the show, as we've talked about.
Coach, you're welcome to come on anytime.
Anytime.
I'm not busy out in New York. But
we'll get you Houlihan's.
Hey, you'll get you some Houlihan's. We're on a 4-hour time difference. We'll
certainly
whatever works, man.
You get an opportunity to trade now for your let's just say first 2 draft picks. You lose your first 2 draft picks this year for Deshaun, or do you trade those 2 picks of the first round for Deshaun, or do you pick up 2 first-round draft picks? This is third down.
Ooh, Is it just 2? You only getting Deshaun for 2?
Let's pretend it's just 2 draft picks.
Man, I might take Deshaun for 2 draft picks. And like I said, I know we kind of talked about this too. I think Sam Darnold is going to be fine there. I think he's going to finally be with enough in a system where they're going to let him, work and do like the fit what he's good at. Go to his strengths, and they're going to be a good offense. But I think right now, coming off the year Deshaun Watson had, I mean, given the age, he's not. Was he a couple, 1 or 2 years older than Darnold? 3 years maybe. Not too much older. It's not like you're signing Rodgers or anything. But yeah, I think I'd be okay giving up 2 firsts.
How about 2 firsts in 2022?
Sam Darnold included in that, or that just picks?
I think say no Darnold. You lose Darnold too. No Darnold. No draft picks next 3 years, or first round draft picks next 2 years.
No.
Okay.
Because you're a brand new coach coming into a brand new thing, and you gotta. I mean, you're going to save a guy, and then but you don't know if you have all the pieces yet necessarily. I think. Not saying they couldn't do it. Not saying Deshaun couldn't plug in and do it. But I think if you're coming in trying to set the tone, you got a guy who's very capable of winning football games for you behind center. I think you go and you take advantage of having that draft capital, and you bring in guys that you want to start filling that locker room with, and I think you find some little miniature Robert Salehs with the, you'll be all right.
I think it's going to be that's going to be really fascinating to see how this plays out over the next week or two.
And we'll probably get off the show right now, and he'll be a Jet
he'll be
or something,
a Jet already, or a Dolphin
else.
or something. Yeah. So,
right.
Have you ever had to, 4th down, sled push a vehicle because it broke down?
Mostly just ice more than anything, and not necessarily not necessarily ran out of gas or something. My dad's always been good on making sure, hey, before you leave, check your gauge. Don't be the dummy who gets stuck in the middle of somewhere. So shout out, Pops. You've done a good job engraving that in my brain forever. So it's nice if you're stuck with guys that are big and you have multiple bodies that can help you. And other times, it's not so nice.
It's good life advice, though. Ernie with the good life advice might be saving a life out there right now.
Yeah, if it's
gas up your vehicle. Because unless you have linemen to push your car out.
Unless you got a car full of linemen.
There we go.
Yeah, it's the middle of winter, man. It's cold out. You're going to be starting your car a lot, heating it up. Go fill it up with some petrol.
So we're time now to turn out the lights.
Time
now. I think thinking about the whole show, thinking about the theme of the show is we're talking about having a group of people that are a team, that are selfless, that are doing a job that's really hard and takes a lot of intellectual and physical ability, but they're doing it together. And I think that's super crucial, and that's something that we can take into society.
No, and I think you're absolutely right. Like you were just saying, and I think and young guys who, I think you'll understand this. A lot of young guys who play offensive line who don't buy into it, because they're not touching the football, they're not getting sacks, and they want to go play defensive line. Just know that once you're around a coach, or once you get to college, man, you're appreciated so much more for what you do and your ability as an offensive lineman. I just know so many young guys that, I only play defense. I only play defensive line. It's, hey, man, you're going to be appreciated. You are appreciated. Big guys, don't eat too much, but eat. Go lift. Don't sit around.
And if you do eat hula hands?
Eat hula hands. And quarterbacks, bring your linemen snacks, because they'll love you and they'll block harder and they'll treat you better, and you'll earn their respect, and that's the number one thing you can do as a quarterback. I mean, if you're not, I don't know what you're doing. Like I said, that's one of the things that my linemen always know, and my mom would even bring them. My mom started bringing stuff in high school too, so yeah, they knew every game day they were getting snacks from my mom and I. So all the moms out there listening, you make sure your son is hooked up with them, hooking all the big boys up with snacks.
It has been a fun episode. We will catch you guys next time. We're the Backups. I'm Timothy B. Davis. He's
Connor B. Feckley.
And we coach football. Have a wonderful night.